Dragon Ball Z Ultimate Tenkaichi. Probably one of the most hated Dragon Ball games of all time. Yeah, we've had this game for like a decade, and I loved it as a little kid. It was a great game to me. Like, I liked the new system, the story mode, and all that stuff. Yeah, I loved this game as a little kid. Do I still love it now? Well, let's see. Here's my review on Dragon Ball Z Ultimate Tenkaichi. But before I do this review, yes, guys, I know the game's over a decade old. It came out way back in 2011, and people have already done reviews and rants on the game years ago. But just because they've done reviews and rants on the game, that doesn't mean I can't do my own review of the game. So yeah, here it is, guys. Here's my review on Dragon Ball Z Ultimate Tenkaichi. Like I just said, I loved this game as a little kid, but do I still love it now? Do I still love it now as a 17-year-old boy? I don't know. I still love Dragon Ball, and I still play Dragon Ball games. So let's see. Let's see how well this game holds up over a decade later. Okay. Now the game starts off with the opening. The game starts off with an opening with with the 2D animation style, with the different type of 2D animation style that looks more like the Dragon Ball Z anime, and it's off to a really good start. It also has the old school Chala theme from Dragon Ball Z, and it's really good. You get some like original animation, really nice looking animation. You get to see Goku fighting with the new heroes of the game, which are a part of Hero Mode, which I'll go more in depth with later in this review. You get some transformations, fusions, nice action. It's a really good opening. And then after that opening, the game takes you to the title screen, and it tells you to hit the start button and all that stuff. And if you're not already signed into your profile, it will remind you to sign into your profile. If you want to like save data and all that stuff. And then after that, the game gives you a list of all the modes you can do and all that stuff. And now let me go over the graphics. The graphics on this game are very good. Very good. I think the attacks of this game look really nice. The transformations, fusions, all that stuff. Really good graphics. So yeah, visually the game's great. And now moving on to the sound. The sound of this game is nice too. Yeah, the sound of the game is nice too. I like the sound effects that play like when you select an option, select a mode and stuff like that. And I like the sound effect that plays when you select stuff. The sound effects that play when you select stuff and all that stuff, like when you're scrolling when you're scrolling through stuff. And I'm also a fan of the soundtrack of this game too. I'm also still a fan of the soundtrack of this game too. Definitely one of my favorite soundtracks in any Dragon Ball game. Not my absolute favorite soundtrack of any Dragon Ball game, no. I think that other Dragon Ball game soundtracks like Budokai Tenkaichi 2 and Raging Blast 2 beat out by a bit, but I still love the soundtrack of Ultimate Tenkaichi. I find it a nice, relaxing, and catchy soundtrack that gives me early 2010s nostalgia. So yeah, the game's doing really good so far. It's off to a really good start. Now let me go be more specific with the game modes of the game. Okay, so you have story mode. Now let me go over the story mode of this game, or should I say the story modes of this game? Because yes, this game actually has two different story modes on it. The first one being the story mode, the old Dragon Ball Z story mode that covers the same story that was told in many other Dragon Ball games, with like fighting the Saiyans, Majin Buu, Frieza, Cell, and all that stuff. And the other story mode of this game is a completely different one called Hero Mode, which follows a completely different story than your normal Dragon Ball Z story mode that was told in many of the other games. And you get to do it with your own creative character, and I'll go more in depth with that story mode later. Now, focusing more on the original story mode of this game. Now, this was like my favorite part of this game. I think this was my favorite part of this game as a little kid. I loved playing through the story mode of this game. I really liked the cutscenes and all that stuff. Thought they were really good. I really enjoyed revisiting fights and the cutscenes and all that stuff. I loved revisiting certain fights I loved revisiting the story modes of Dragon Ball games as a little kid. Even though they do, a lot of the time they do say the same story over and over again. But still, I really like the story mode of this game as a little kid. You get two different types of cutscenes in the story mode of this game. You get those 3D cutscenes, which are cutscenes done with the game's graphics. And you get these 2D cutscenes, which are cutscenes that are animated more likely, that look more like the Dragon Ball Z anime. And they also have the same animation style as the opening to this game does, and they also have a similar animation style too. Okay, so you remember how in Dragon Ball Raging Blast 2 they had that reanimated OVA of Plan to Eradicate the Super Saiyans or whatever? Yeah, they had that reanimated OVA of Plan to Eradicate the Super Saiyans or whatever. Yeah, this game. Yeah, those type of cutscenes have animation style that's similar to the animation of that reanimated OVA from Raging Blast 2. So yeah, I think the cutscenes are really nice and enjoyable to watch, especially the 2D cutscenes, really nice, well animated. And yeah, there's some that cover stuff the game couldn't, and yeah, that's nice. And yeah, the cutscenes are enjoyable to watch, and it's nice to play through the story mode. And I think this game does a good job with capturing Dragon Ball Z story mode, even though it does cut out some fights, especially during the Majin Buu saga. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh, what fights did it cut out in the Buu saga? Let's do this. The fights they cut out in the Buu saga. Gohan and Goten training for the World's Martial Arts Tournament. Check. Vegeta and Trunks training for the tournament. Check. Goten versus Trunks at the tournament. Check. Oh my gosh. Gohan versus Majin Buu before he was Ultimate. Check. Gotenks, base form Gotenks versus Majin Buu. Check. Super Saiyan 1 Gotenks versus Super Buu. Check. Ultimate Gohan versus Gotenks Buu. Check. Oh my gosh. And I'm not stopping there. Super Saiyan 3 Goku versus Gotenks Buu. Check. And you want to know why they cut out those last two fights I listed? Because the game, for some reason, doesn't have Gotenks Buu. It doesn't have Gotenks Buu. It has normal Super Buu and Ultimate Gohan Buu, but not Gotenks Buu. Not Gotenks Buu. Just Super Buu's only transformation in this game is Gohan Buu? What? Yeah, and it doesn't stop there. Goku and Vegeta versus Super Buu before they fuse into Vegito. Base form Vegito versus Super Buu. Don't even get me started on Buu's body, but like, this isn't like really a rare thing because a lot of Dragon Ball games just skip over, like, because a lot of story modes in Dragon Ball games skip over Buu's body for some reason. It's like why? I mean, yeah, sure, they don't have the Buu's body stage on, like, in Budokai 3, but still, they could have just used the different stage for Buu's body, like what Raging Blast 1 did. Like, oh my gosh, Goku and Vegeta versus Super Buu in Buu's body, another fight they cut out in the story mode. Like, why? They totally could have done that fight. They had the right characters for it, and yeah, they didn't have Buu's body, but they could have used some different stage for Buu's body, like what Raging Blast 1 did. Gosh. Super Saiyan 2 Goku versus Kid Buu. How many fights did I list? So many fights cut out in the Buu saga, which makes the Buu saga shorter than the Saiyan saga, the Frieza saga, and the Cell saga, and in the show, it's longer than all three of those sagas. Wow. But yeah, but with like the other sagas though, with like the previous three sagas though, it does a better job. It doesn't do as bad of a job with, like, you know, the fights and all that stuff, even though there's still some fights they cut out in those sagas, like Gohan and Krillin versus Goldo, and Super Trunks versus Cell, but still, it doesn't cut out as many fights in those sagas as it did in the Buu saga. In the Buu saga, they cut out so many fights, and for the longest time, that was my favorite saga. That's been my favorite saga of Dragon Ball. I don't know if it still is my favorite saga of Dragon Ball. I love all four of the sagas. I love all four canon sagas of Dragon Ball Z. I love all four canon sagas of Dragon Ball Z, like, close level to each other. It's hard for me to decide how I would rank them from worst to best. I think they're all great. But the Buu saga definitely has my favorite part of Vegeta's character development. But this isn't a review of the anime. No. I'm making it sound like more like it's a review on the anime. This is a review on a video game, so yeah. What other part of the story mode is there to cover? Oh, not to mention the boss battles! The most annoying type of fights in the story mode. Okay, there's 4 boss fights in the original story mode of this game. The first one was against Great Vegeta, which I was stuck on for a while. The second one being the only fight that's in the Return of Cooler movie that they covered, and that's Goku versus Metacooler Core. But like, and at least from what I know, it's the only Dragon Ball game to cover that. So it's nice that it covered that part of the Metacooler movie, but. Still, that fight was hard. I would say it's the hardest boss fight in the whole game, at least from when I played. Oh my gosh, I was stuck on that for a while. I think that fight's hard. That fight's hard mainly because of, like, you know, the spikes and stuff coming up as you're trying to attack Cooler. And there's also like what other boss fights are there in the game? Well, there's also the one with Goku against pre-transformed Janemba and him up against Hirudegarn. Now, I remember not spending too much time on those last 2 boss fights, but oh my gosh, I spent much longer on the ones for Grey Ape, Vegeta, and Metacooler Core. Those ones were pretty annoying. Yeah, Yeah, these boss fights, yeah, they can get pretty repetitive with like the like a hit dodge kind of thing, quick time events, and you have to be quick enough with the quick time events. And those boss fights can be pretty hard. Although I remember when I was playing through the story mode, I got more used to the boss fights, but still those boss fights can be hard. Although I've gotten more used to the boss fights over the years, but yeah, those boss fights can still be pretty hard. So how good is the story mode overall? Well, it's not terrible. Like I said, it was my favorite part of the game as a little kid. And yeah, while it does have its flaws, like the boss fights can be too hard, and it cutting out fights, especially during the Boo Saga, it's still a really good story. It's still a really good story mode nonetheless, and probably the best part about this game. Okay, now Hero Mode, a completely different story mode, and it's definitely not as long as the original story mode of this game. That's for sure. That's a fact. So, Hero Mode, okay. So, probably my favorite thing about this game now is that Hero Mode, it involves you making your own Dragon Ball. It involves you making your own character. Yeah, and I really like the part of the game. It's nice that I can make my own character in the game and have that character interact with the Dragon Ball Z's cast. But there's, I would say, although the Xenoverse games probably do it way better, at least from what I know, the only thing that Ultimate Tenkaichi does better than the Xenoverse games is that you can have more than one character in the roster at a time. So that means in Ultimate Tenkaichi, yes, while you still can't have too many creative characters be in the roster at a time, you can still have creative characters interact with each other, fight against each other, team up with each other, that kind of cool stuff. Although, yeah, the character creation in Ultimate Tenkaichi is pretty limited. To start off, there's like three types: standard, small, and large. So yeah, you'll get those three types, and you can only have one character for each type. And like I said, those are three types, so that means you can't make any more than 3 creative characters in the game. Yep, sorry, but yeah. And yeah, you got standard, small, and large. And yeah, you can only have one character for each type. You can't have multiple for the same type, and the creation is limited. Okay, first of all, apart from a male Saiyan, you can't make anything. You can't make anything other than a male Saiyan. You can't make a female character. You can't make an Namekian. You can't make a Boo. You can't nothing. Just a male Saiyan, and it's pretty limited. Now it seems like it gets less limited over time, but still, it's pretty limited. Like, it's still pretty limited. First, you get like a limited amount of hairstyles to pick from, and a limited amount of clothing, and not very good. Not too varied. Although it is cool. To be able to create your own character, and how were able to make a story mode for those creative characters, and have a story mode in the game that's different than your normal Dragon Ball Z story mode that's been told in many of the other games. So there's that. Although there's some problems with the with Hero Mode. Like they don't explain enough stuff in the story mode. Like for example, the second fight in Hero Mode, you fight against this great ape, and they don't really explain much. They don't explain like who the great ape is, or like why he's, or like if he just wants to fight you, or how they turn to ape. No, none of that stuff. They just get right to the fighting. Get right to the fighting. It reminds me of how people blindly criticize Dragon Ball by saying it has no story or character development. This reminds me so much of that. And yeah, they could explain more in the story mode for Hero Mode. After all, it is another story mode for the game, after all. And yeah, plus you don't get to meet Goku in the story mode at all for some weird reason. You do get to interact with characters like Captain Ginyu, that great ape, and androids and Omega Shenron, but you don't get to interact with Goku, despite the fact that the intro of this game shows Goku interacting with the creative heroes of the game. What? He's the... So yeah, and yeah, there's also this one really hard fight against Piccolo that I haven't got past yet. Yeah, it's a pretty hard fight. Piccolo, yeah, oh man, I would say you should try customizing your character if you want to be Piccolo. He's pretty tough. It's pretty tough in Hero Mode. So, but yeah, overall, how good is Hero Mode? Well, it's a good mode. It has its flaws, but it's still a good mode. It's nice to have a Dragon Ball game where you can make your own creative characters, even though the Xenoverse games probably do it way better because you have a lot more stuff to pick from when creating your character and all that stuff. But yeah, I still think Hero Mode works well. It's still nice that I can play as my own character in a Dragon Ball game. And and it's nice to have a story mode, and it's nice to have a Dragon Ball game with a unique story that's different from the usual Dragon Ball Z story mode. Okay, what else is there to cover with this game? Okay, well, moving on. Other stuff about customization. The customization got more limited. It already got more limited in Raging Blast 2, but then in the next game, yeah, it got more limited. Yeah, customization got more limited, so yeah, definitely not the best customization in a Dragon Ball game. And yeah, what else is there to cover about this game? Well, this game still has tournament mode, and that's nice. Unfortunately, Dragon Ball games like Burst Limit and Infinite World, never played it, but I do know that Infinite World has tournament mode on it. Yeah, unfortunately, for some reason, those Dragon Ball games don't have tournament mode on it. But like, why? Like, tournament mode's pretty fun. And yeah, I do enjoy playing tournament mode in this game. I do think tournament mode's nice to play on in this game. I do think Dragon Ball games, tournament mode, like playing through tournaments is definitely one of my favorite things to do in Dragon Ball games. And what else is there to talk about this game? Oh yeah, I should get more in depth with the combat of this game, the fighting style of this game. Now the fighting style of this game is something different, and I really liked the fighting style of this game as a little kid. But the fighting style of this game has flaws. It's repetitive, and yeah, they did add some attacks that they were more like Dragon Ball Z, more like how they fight in Dragon Ball Z. But they should have had they could have added more stuff to the fighting combat of this game. And this whole game is rock paper scissors. This whole game is like rock paper scissors. It's not like how in Budokai 3 where it's rather temporary. It's not like how in Budokai 3 how the whole rock paper scissors thing. How the whole rock paper scissors thing is temporary. No, it's literally during the whole fight. It's rock paper scissors. You have to guess what button your opponent's gonna press. It's like that throughout the whole game. And yes, it's like that in Budokai 3, but it's not like that throughout the whole. But it's not like that throughout the whole fight. In Ultimate Tenkaichi, you have to guess what button your opponent's gonna press, and not to mention, the combat in this game is too slowly paced. It really is. The combat of this game is too slowly paced. It can be pretty hard for me to do a fight in this game that's less than like 3 or 4 minutes long. The combat of this game became slower paced, and yeah, the pacing of this game became rather a downgrade from like previous Dragon Ball games, like Budokai Tenkaichi's and Budokai Tenkaichi and Raging Blast. So yeah, the game is pretty slow paced, and that's pretty bad. The combat of this game is pretty slow paced, and that can get pretty annoying, and it can make the fights feel like rather. And I would probably say it makes playing through the fights get old pretty fast. So yeah, I mean, as for the combat of this game, I do like how it did something different. Make the attacks more like Dragon Ball Z, add more stuff to the attacks, and have the fight feel more like Dragon Ball Z and all that stuff. But still, there needs to be more. I think it would be better if there was more stuff to it, and if it was faster paced. Because the pacing of the fighting in this game, I feel, is too slow. I think it should be faster paced. So yeah, I mean, I think the gameplay of this game is fine. It's good, but it can get old. I would probably say it can get old pretty fast. And I think it needs improving. There are Dragon Ball games with better. There is a better Dragon Ball game. There's Dragon Ball games like better fighting styles. There's a lot of Dragon Ball games. I play a lot of Dragon Ball games with better fighting styles than this. Like Budokai Tenkaichi's 1, 2, and Budokai Tenkaichi's 2 and 3. I've never played Budokai Tenkaichi 1, but I've seen a lot of gameplay videos for that game. The Raging Blast games, the Burst Limit, Budokai's 1 and 3. Games like those. I think they have better fighting styles than Ultimate Tenkaichi. Now, what else is there to talk about this game? Well, you can still save a lot of replays in this game, and that's nice. I think, and if I'm correct in this game, you can save as many replays in this game as you can in the Raging Blast 2. A bunch of replays. A lot more replays than you can in Budokai Tenkaichi 3 and Raging Blast 1, so yeah, that's nice. So, yeah, that's nice. You don't have too low replays there. You can save a bunch of replays in this game like you can in Raging Blast 2. And now let me go more in depth with the character roster. Oh my gosh, the character roster. What a downgrade. A downgrade. And look at Raging Blast 2. Raging Blast 2, the game that came out before this game, had a lot more characters. It had 100 characters. It had new movie henchmen from movies like Cooler's Revenge and Super Android 13 for us to play with. It was a big roster. But Ultimate Tenkaichi? Oh my gosh, what a downgrade. What a downgrade. Wow. So many characters were left out. Yeah, so many characters were left out. Let's look at the characters that were left out. Okay. Goldo, check. Trunks and the Cell Saga, Trunks and Vegeta's armor, check. Kid Trunks, check. Goten, check. Okay, I'm gonna stop saying check there, but yeah, let me continue on with the list. Normal adult Gohan, yep. And there's all what other characters were left out? Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta. Yeah, there's that too. Yeah, Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta. Gotenks Buu, as I mentioned earlier. Base form Gotenks, base form Vegito, base form Teen Gohan, base form Brawly, Super Saiyan 1 Brawly, Science Shenron, Super Saiyan 4 Goku, Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta. Moving on to my next point. There's only 2 GT characters in the whole game. You just get Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta and Omega Shenron, and there's only 1 GT fight in the whole story mode in the whole original story mode of the game, which I probably should have brought up when I was talking about the story mode earlier, but it doesn't matter, right? At least I still covered it. So yeah, you get Gogeta, Super Saiyan 4, and Omega Shenron, and apart from those, there's no GT characters in this game. What other characters were left out? You don't get normal body Metal Cooler, and you don't even get normal Cooler. You don't even get normal Cooler, despite the fact that this game covers the Return of Cooler movie. Isn't that weird? They covered the movie's sequel, but not the original movie, and they don't have the original Cooler. What? They don't even have Meta Cooler. They don't even have Meta Cooler, despite the fact that they did his movie. Now, granted, they just did a boss fight of him, and you play against a boss. The Cooler that's in this game is a boss that wouldn't be playable enough in the game, but still, could they not have had Meta Cooler, the normal body Meta Cooler, be in this game, or the original Cooler be in this game? Yeah, like, yeah. And what other characters did they leave out? Oh yeah, not to mention Chaochu's not in this game, despite the fact that he was in the Raging Blast games. But no, Chaochu was left out in this game, like he was in the Burst Limit games, and if I remember, like he was in Burst Limit, and if I remember correctly, the Budokai games and the Xenoverse games. Yeah, so many characters were left out of this game. There were also some costumes left out of this game too. Like, you remember Goku's barefoot? Do you remember that barefoot outfit Goku fought Raditz in? Nope, that's completely gone in this game. Instead, in the story mode, they made Goku fight Raditz. There's Goku fighting Raditz in his normal default outfit in this game, and there was also his normal turtle outfit's gone from this game too, and there's no costume. You no longer in this game. You can't play as Goku with an already torn up uniform, so there's that too. And what other costumes were left out of this game? I honestly can't remember that many other costumes they left out in this game, but I do know they left out multiple costumes of this game, and yeah, and like the character roster coming from Raging Blast 2, it was a huge cut the amount of stuff they left out. But there's some good things about the roster though. Like, you know how in Dragon Ball games and previous Dragon Ball games they would make Captain Ginyu's body change thing an attack. Well, in this game they made it a transformation. Whereas, Goku, they gave Captain Ginyu a transformation, whereas he switches bodies with Goku. Yeah, and you can play as you're able to play. This is one of those Dragon Ball games where you can pick your transformations before battle. So that means you could finally pick Captain Ginyu and Goku's body before playing the game. So that was nice. And do know that in like the Xenoverse games, they would rather make that a costume, and have Goku and Ginyu's body be a costume for Goku too. So yeah, that was nice. That was a nice thing they did in this game. Yeah, being able to start out by playing with Captain Ginyu and Goku's body. Yeah, definitely better than how Tenkaichi's 2 and 3 handle Ginyu switching bodies with another person. Yeah, just some random person that doesn't switch bodies with the person that you were fighting, and yeah, you lose super attacks. And all that stuff. So yeah, and even better than I would say it's even better than how he switches bodies in the Raging Blast games, because in those games he just switches bodies. Because in those games, yes, while he does switch bodies with Goku, just like how he does in this game, you're unable to start out in those games. You're unable to start out like already playing with getting you already being in Goku's body, and you can't do that in this game. So that was a nice plus. And yeah, that also means they changed Captain Ginyu's ultimate in this game too. I don't remember what it was, but looking at like DBZ Anto's, I'm sorry if I mispronounced his name, but DBZ Anto's compilation video where he shows all the ultimate attacks in the game, I do remember it being the same. I do remember both versions of Ginyu having the same ultimate, and I also remember it being purple too. So yeah, another nice thing about the roster of this game is, like I said earlier, you can create your own characters in the game. Yes, it's limited and needs improving, but still, it's nice to be able to create your own characters in this game. So yeah, the roster, yeah. But overall, the roster, Yeah, pretty flawed and a huge step down from Raging Blast 2's roster. Big step down. Big step down. But yeah. But yeah, back on the topics of costumes, I think the costumes in this game got better damage. And they went, and I like how there's more damage to costumes to certain costumes out of this game, and that's nice. Although it's still a shame how certain costumes were left out. So yeah, I think I've covered enough about this game. I think I've covered a good chunk of stuff about this game. Now let me get on to my overall opinion of the game. How well does this game hold up? Do I still love it now like I did when I was little? No. I wouldn't exactly call it a bad game, but like compare it to like the Budokai Tenkaichi, compare it to Budokai Tenkaichi's 2 and 3 and the Raging Blast games. What? Like I don't think I wouldn't take this game over those games. No. No, I would say just play like the Budokai Tenkaichi. I'd say I'd rather just stick with like. I'd rather say you could stick with like you should stick with the Budokai games, the Budokai Tenkaichi games, the Raging Blast games. Those are definitely better games than Ultimate Tenkaichi. Ultimate Tenkaichi isn't a terrible game. It did do some cool, unique things, and it has a nice charm to it. It has really good soundtrack, really good graphics, and all that stuff. So yeah, I do think there's a lot of good things about the game. So it's definitely not a bad game. But I think if I were to do like a Dragon Ball games tier list, I think I'd put it at B tier. It's not exactly a bad game. I would call it. I guess I would overall call it a good game because it does have a lot of good. There's a lot of good things about the game that do overall make it a good game. But worthy of buying, yeah. Yeah. Not to mention in this video, my Ultimate Tenkaichi. Yeah, that Ultimate Tenkaichi disc won't work at certain parts. But I don't really feel like getting another disc of that game for my birthday. So. Yeah, because I got better Dragon Ball games like Budokai Tenkaichi's 2 and 3, the Raging Blast games. So. Yeah, those are all definitely better games than Ultimate Tenkaichi. I mean, yeah, Ultimate Tenkaichi does have some good things about it, but I don't like it as much as I did when I was little. Well, like I said, when I was little, I loved the game. I loved the game despite its flaws, but overall, now I don't love it anymore. I don't love it anymore. Not worth buying. Not worth buying. I think there's better Dragon Ball games out there. So yeah, overall, I give it a B. And on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe like 6 or 7. Probably. And yeah, guys, that's overall my opinion on the game. What's your guys' thoughts on the game? You can tell me in the comment section down below. And that's all for this review video, guys. Bye, everyone, and thank you all for watching this video.